Monday, April 10th. Beautiful spring day here, so I thought I'd pull this engine out of the shop and shoot a video of it. We've been working on it on and off all winter, doing a mechanical restoration to it. This is an unusual engine and fairly rare. There's only 3 of these known to exist of this style. It's a Westman gas engine built in Minneapolis, Minnesota, probably around 1906. Give you a shot of the tag. Now there's a few more Westmans around than just the 3 horizontals, but mainly they were into the vertical and marine engine business. No, there are a number of the marine engines left in the Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan area. They were used on some of the lakes up there, but Westman got into building horizontal engines somewhere around 1905, and I believe they only built them in this one size. According to the literature, this is 5 horsepower. I've never seen any mention of any smaller or larger sizes built, but they must have built a few of these 5 horses, but only three of them left. This engine was found back in I believe the 1970s in town of Squaw Lake, Minnesota. Squaw Lake is just a small Northwoods resort town northeast of Bemidji. Bemidji is where the headwaters of the Mississippi are at in north central Minnesota. It was bought new by the Bodine family. They bought it directly from Westman in Minneapolis and took it up to they had a little resort in just outside of Squaw Lake, where they had cabins in the woods, and people from the cities would go up north and fish or hang out on the lake. Even back 100 years ago, they had this cabin, and the engine was powered a wood shop there at the resort. They had saws and lathe and other tools on the line shaft, and so it was removed probably in the mid-70s, I'm thinking, and showed up at some shows in Minnesota and North Dakota for a number of years before we brought it home just about a year and a half ago, and did a mechanical restoration to it. It's a really well-built engine. It's got some unique features on it. Nicely finished, nice machine jobs on it. I'll go through a few of the highlights. An oddity is the rod is tapered both directions. Biggest in the middle, smaller towards the ends. Double keys on the hub of the flywheel, which is kind of interesting. Both sides are that way. It's got a latch out on it, similar to a Flower City, with the big arm that swings over and latches the push rod for the exhaust valve out. There's see that better right there. Babbitt line square bearing in there. 4 studs on the main and the camshaft, on the crankshaft and the camshaft, and a brass fuel pump with external check valves that's operated continuously with this bell crank and eccentric back here. Got kind of a neat disengagement mechanism here. You can pull that knurled knob out, and that unlocks that brass yoke from the bell crank, so you can detach that so you can operate the pump manually for priming, and then reattach it so it dries before starting. Igniter trip is kind of interesting. That took some figuring out to get that back in shape. It's real close coupled in there, and all the springs and the linkages and that. It looks fairly simple, but to get that all in order took a little bit of doing. It's got an advance and retard right here. You pull this pin out, turn it, and that slightly changes the angle on that trip finger. The cap screw here adjusts the timing on the advance and retard. Got a glass fuel bowl here with the gasoline in it. This kind of reminds me a little bit of a Globe Ironworks white engine. So there were a few similarities to some of the other Minneapolis built engines incorporated into this design. You see all these little tubes in here. The one tube here with the holes in the side, that's the supply where it comes in from the pump. There's a little tube here that fills up with gasoline when the level comes up, and all that is the priming chamber. There's a needle valve on the back side here. You open that needle valve and it dumps everything in that priming chamber directly into the intake, so that give it a charge to start on. I want to open that and show you right here. You just open that up and there that gas goes down. Now it's sitting right in the air intake. Get the charge in there. This is your main needle valve here for running, and then the standpipe in here for the overflow. So kind of a unique little fuel system there. Exhaust valve here on the right, intake valve in the front, and incorporated into the igniter trip is a fuel saver. So up here, this bell crank shoves the igniter trip forward, but it also up here operates the fuel saver on the intake valve to hold that shut. Lots of set screws and taper pins. The intake valve's under here, and this is kind of a neat little feature. It's amazing to me this cap never got lost, but this little dust cap over the intake valve, keep people from running into it or whatever they had in mind there. But we did a mechanical restoration on this engine. Every piece has been apart and gone through. But the original paint on this engine is really nice. It's probably one of the nicer ones we've gotten a hold of. It's got a thick coat of black paint all over it, and then it's got white highlights in just a few places. So we're careful with all that when we did the cleanup, because it was a lot of dirt, a lot of grease and oil on everything, which preserved things, but it's kind of a chore to clean up without damaging any paint. But I say white highlights on the end of the hubs and the back ring of the cover on the cylinder, and then of course the head. That's all original white paint. And not just the engine itself, but all the accessories are all original. This friction drive magneto with the original wood base, that's all original. Original pop muffler was in the building with the engine. Even the pulley crank guard, of course, are all original Sherwood oilers. The tanks were actually even originally with the engine in the building. This was the cooling tank, the water reservoir. Minneapolis Plumbing and Steam Fitting Supply Company. And even the original gas tank What was in the building with the engine. It's got some neat scripting on it. Electric weld. Again, says Minneapolis, Minnesota on it. Fuel level gauge. So really nice to have all the original accessories with the engine. I'll set the camera down here in a second and we will do a startup video and see if we can make a little noise. Okay, ready to try a startup video. The engine's been lubricated, so gonna turn the oilers on. And pump up the fuel, pull that disengaged pin, run the gas up, should still have that prime in there, fuel is set, decompression there, got the ignition on, and we'll see what happens. Walk around a little bit here with it. Fuel pump runs continuously. The cam really gets me. It's really a square cam on it. A small roller. It doesn't take long to open the valve. A couple of teeth and the valve goes from full open, full close. There's a latch out there. The exhaust valve is held open. The igniter grip is held forward also, so it doesn't wear out the igniter. Saves the battery. The trip stays ahead of the igniter. At the same time with the fuel saver holds the intake valve shut. That comes up to a dead stop there, but with the spring tension of that spring right there, holding the valve shut. Got a bronze gear on the crankshaft. Nice tapered base. That base, or the bed plate on this engine had to be quite a complicated casting, because it's got the entire base cast in one piece, and then even this bearing assembly and the bearing for the guide for the push rod is all cast into the base. If something got stuck and that can come around and broke that off, you'd have a problem, because all that's one piece. Even the ears that stick out to hold the arm for the latch out, those are cast in. There's a lot of end Fairbanks similarities to the design, and just got the kind of the general lines of an N, with a few features borrowed from Flower City with that latch out, and the Globe Iron Works with that fuel system. And you can see that they were kind of taking a few ideas from here and there on how to build an engine, but still very, very uniquely Westman. That rod comes close enough that they've got it notched out on the top and bottom of the ring on the back of the cylinder to make clearance for the rod. Air intake into the base. Pretty well made, smooth running engine.